Okay, good morning. Yeah, good morning. Thank you, sir. Okay, I'll start my class. Uh, so, since it's got streaming now, I'll start my class. So, we'll just have a recap of what we discussed, where we ended in the yesterday's class. We will proceed from there. And today we'll be completing Unit 5. And if there's any possibility, we'll go to Unit 6. But tomorrow is 11th and then 12th. We go tomorrow and day after tomorrow. I will be taking 11 and 12 units, and the other units you should study on your own, unless we have any other classes later. But our schedule will be over by 12th of this month. So I will be finishing this Unit 5. Unit 6 also we'll try to see if we have time today. I'll cover it. But tomorrow onwards, I will be taking Unit 11 and 12, which are completely technical. And I feel you should be able to listen to that and then try to easily understand. And technical, if you write correct point, you will get full marks. There we don't expect anything, or anything descriptive in your own words, uh, like in journalism. So there is not writing that matters. It is actually whether you are telling the technical aspects correctly. So that is the one thing. So we have yesterday we discussed this. Let me put it in the presentation. I'll just put in sharing the screen. Then we will let me start sharing the screen. Then of course. Okay, I hope you are able to see the screen, but there's nobody to confirm to me. But I take it for granted that you are able to see the screen, and we will proceed from here. So on the screen, you might be seeing a slide known as do the TACT test. Yesterday we talked about TACT test. We said TACT means T is taste. That is whether it is good taste or bad taste. The headline should not be provocative. It should not be humiliating. It should not be annoying. It should not be irritating. So it should be. So it should leave a good feel good factor also, but not necessarily. But try to be. It can taste good if it is factual. So taste, attractiveness. Is there any punch in your headline? The headlines are given a punch, and if you give a punch, it has an attractiveness. Similarly, is your headline clear? That is what we discussed yesterday. And is it actually truthful? This is very important for us. This is because so if you are satisfied with the TACT test and see that all the four are covered, then you have really done a very good headline. So we'll see actually what exactly we mean by some of the tips for headlines. And as I said yesterday, I don't have any hard and fast rules. When you, as a journalist or sub-editor, or you want to coin a headline for a story, you have all the freedom to do it. But then, as we said yesterday, we expect you to follow some kind of a style. So normally what happens, tips for better headlines. If you see good old newspaper, the first word used to be capitalized, not necessary. There is no rule, okay? Normally, it should always be kept, as should all proper nouns. Tips for better headlines. That's what they say. Not necessarily. So some publications capitalize every word of headline, and some of them do not capitalize every word, just the first word of the headline. And not necessary. They may have all the headlines in capitals and lowercase. So you should always follow the guidelines of that particular organization. Any organization, newspaper organization like Hindu, the Express, the Pioneer, the Times of India, Economic Times, all these papers have their own guidelines. So they follow those guidelines when you're trying to put your headline, not the way you write the headlines, but the way you present them, the font that you select. Are you going to put it all capitals and lowercase, italics, bold? All these things are normally very specifically uh, mentioned in the guideline book of the organization, which we call it as the house style, or we call it as the style sheet. So house style is a small booklet which gives you all the guidelines. That is on behalf of the organization. So you cannot say in Hindu, I will use this font. No, they may have standardized some things because uh, everybody has a strict guideline so that it identifies with their paper. So the moment I see a particular font, I can make out that this is Hindu. If you show me a font, I can make out that this is Hans. I can make out that this is Sakshi, this is Inadu, this is Andhra Jyoti. Just by the font or by the way the headlines are formatted. So this is one area which you should know. And all of us know that we have what is known as, then normally do not spell out numbers in headline. Like 5, don't put 5, you can put 5 number. Because we need space. We need space. That again, you have a guideline. So you can see, you can start a headline with a number and you do not need to spell out any numbers for most of them. For example, you see, I have given an example, 3 dead in car crash. So you started your headline with a number, with a figure. And these figures are known as Arabic numerals. This is known as Arabic numerals. You are not putting THREE. 3 dead in car crash or 20 dead in explosion. Okay. Then, how do you write lead? What is a lead? Lead is the first paragraph after the headline. So we now assume that you are coined a beautiful headline and your headline has passed the TACT test. So what's the next step? What's the next thing for a news story? Photograph, that we'll discuss later. We will have the photograph part of it later. Let us go to the text part of it only. So normally the first paragraph of the story is known as lead. The very name is lead and it leads you into the story. Me cheyi but one mimmalli story logi తీసుకెళ్తుంది. Or కొంతమంది introduction అనొచ్చు or intro అంటాం. Short form lo. Have you written the intro అంటాడు editor? This is the language he uses or the sub editor. Sir, I'm writing the intro now. You get all the data, then you write the intro. And you know inverted pyramid style. Don't forget that. So the most important part of it can be in the first paragraph. The latest part can also be in the first paragraph. Please remember that. Latest part. And you put the intro, but suddenly there is a new change. You may have to change the lead or the intro. A lead or intro is the first paragraph of a story. Now that is the toughest to write because it is that one which, that paragraph which actually arouses the interest for the reader to read the rest of the story. This is very important, all of you should know. So what are these leads? The good lead paints a vivid picture of the story with a few words. So it can be too lengthy, it can be too short. It has to be a via media paragraph where it is able to create that required curiosity of the reader to read further paragraphs also till perhaps the end of the story. So we call this as lead, L-E-A-D. So what is the lead and what are the different types of leads? So we will see what we mean by that. And you know, in a lead actually, whatever be the type of a lead, what is very important is you will be writing a lead deciding which one is important for the story. Who is important, what is important, when is important, where important. So normally depending on this, you will be selecting the, you will be writing the headline. Who ante celebrity unnadu, somebody is there, Modi, who? So sometimes people give a lot of importance to the prominence, to the person about whom you are writing a news story. Sometimes place also plays a very important role. So suppose Olympics are cancelled due to Corona in Tokyo. Tokyo, unfortunate. You didn't say Olympics will not be held. Tokyo, unfortunate for launching or for hosting Olympics. You can say because of Corona. So a lead can be, it depends on what exactly you want to give importance to. Which part of these questions or a combination of questions. So you should emphasize those aspects in your lead. Less important aspects can be taken up later. So ఈ first paragraph ni మనం lead అంటాం, లేకపోతే introduction అంటాం. ఇందులో మనం ఈ 5Ws 1H లో ఏది ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ఇవ్వాలో అది మనం అక్కడ రాస్తాం. So story to story it may differ. Some stories it may be who, For some, it may be what and when, where, why, how, or sometimes it can be a combination of these also. Now, we will see what are the important kinds of leads. Straight lead. Straight lead. And a good lead incorporates inverted pyramid style with the most important facts first. So we'll just, for instance, please see the example in italics. I have shown that in italics because that's an example. So this is the lead, for instance, the first paragraph. ఇందులో చూడండి ఏమేమి మనకి ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఉందో, ఎన్ని క్వశ్చన్స్ ఆన్సర్ అయిపోయినాయో. 2 children at play were killed today when a sports car jumped the curb outside Prospect Park and ran them down. 12 in the group were injured. That's all. You see here, 2 children were killed. What happened? Whom it happened? When it happened? When a sports car jumped. Okay, why it happened? Because sports car jumped the curb. Where? Outside Prospect Park. And what happened? Ran them down. And still, any additional information? 12 in the group were injured. So if you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Hardly 27 or 25 words are there in this lead, in this intro. This is a straightforward lead. Summary lead. So this is known as a summary lead. Similarly, we have sometimes a descriptive lead also. How an event happened rather than simply telling what the event is about. So here also again, I've given an example in italics where it is very clearly mentioned. Mrs. Pamela Branson slowly counted 5, snapped into hypnotic trance, and gave birth to an 8-pound baby. It was as easy as that. So a pregnant lady, she just counted 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, snapped into a hypnotic trance and gave birth to an 8-pound baby, a healthy baby. It was as easy as that. So this is a descriptive lead of a news story pertaining to a pregnant woman who has gone for delivery. So this is able to, give a sort of a feel-good factor, the first lead. Similarly, we have sometimes quotation lead. Quotes frequently are the essential documentation for a lead and should be used immediately after a paraphrase that summarizes them. Most of the stories pertaining to Rahul Gandhi are quote headlines. If next time you see quotation headlines, or sometimes headlines, or sometimes the intro also. Now here is a quotation given by a person. I would like to jail parents themselves who are so lax their kids are boosting the crime rate. So if there is, now we are seeing juvenile crime. Now they are telling also, we have seen 3 or 4 of the juveniles are, in conflict with law, and they are juveniles, but they have raped. Now we have recent amendment also 2015, if I'm correct, where we have an amendment where the juveniles can be considered as adults if they have committed a heinous act of rape and murder, or rape alone. So now government is appealing to the court to treat them as adults so that they are jailed for life, or maybe whatever death sentence can also be given, or life imprisonment. So here is, for instance, an intro. I would like to jail parents themselves who are so lax their kids are boosting the crime rate. Now most of the accidents that are taking place, or minors are taking their vehicles and going away. Now police has come. Now police has said that the parents will be charged for giving the vehicle to the minors. They will be taken. So we have what is known as a quotation lead. This is known as a quotation lead. Then sometimes you can also have what is known as a question lead. So it can start with a question. It can be a provocative. Maybe, sometimes you will see Nupur Sharma is in trouble now because of the utterances that she made against Prophet. So quite possible the first lead, the paragraph itself, it can be provocative, or it can be at the same time you can write a question lead. Why only Nupur Sharma? Why not others who should be arrested? Because they also made provocative speeches. So first paragraph can be like that. So sometimes if the question is provocative, it may be used as a lead. Many editors dislike question lead on the basis that people read newspapers to get answer. అయితే ఇది ఎక్కువ చాలా మందికి ఇష్టంగా ఉండదు. మేము ప్రశ్న వేస్తే మీరు ఆన్సర్ చెప్పాలి, కానీ మీరే ప్రశ్న వేస్తే ఎట్లా అని రీడర్స్ అంటారు. So many editors don't like this, but this is there. Okay, in some of the stories, this becomes the lead or the first paragraph. What is the first thing that a woman buys when she is advised that she won 2,50,000 in a jingle contest, or she got a prize, or maybe a jackpot or a lottery or something? So you are curious to know, okay, వచ్చింది ఏం కొందాం అనుకుంటున్నావు అని you are putting a question lead. So that is known as a question lead. We have seen what is a quotation lead. We have seen, for instance, what is a straight lead or summary lead. We have seen what is descriptive lead. We have seen what is quotation lead. We have seen what is question lead. And we are seeing what is the contrast lead. Contrast and an opposition, a conflict. Deliberately to give you into two sentences. The first one refers to the humble beginning, and second one, the hero's latest, for instance. For instance. So you can see here, for instance, Kilburn, George, Texas, came home from Russia today with 17 pieces of luggage. So the first thing is the humble beginning. Then they spoke his time pianist. He had 3 when he went over. So you can think about writing a lead that can be contrasted. Lead. There is within that one paragraph, there is a opposition. There is a lot of difference, variation. That is known as contrast lead. Then there is one more thing known as the blind identification lead. Suppose there is a person who is not well known in the community. Okay, his name is not that important. But instead of the name, that person is 80-year-old man. Okay, a police inspector's son was attacked with a knife by some miscreants on Mount Road this evening. So sometimes you need not describe the person's name. Maybe you can describe the age also. So depending on blind identification lead. Or sometimes a funny lead can also be given. A journalist writes a funny story, what are the saddest face in a newsroom. So that requires again a skill and practice. So as you see here, for instance, London, what does the lady do when trapped in a loo? It's some kind of a headline which is funny, which is strange. You feel like laughing. What is the theoretical headline? But that's a headline, lead. That's also another kind of what you call it as a gag or funny lead. So please remember, of course, this is the part of that particular thing. Another important thing is that, so we have finished what is the headline, what are the different types of headline. After headline, what is that you do? Is you write the first paragraph or the first intro, or it is known as the lead. And we have seen the lead can be different types, like quotation, like descriptive, a summary, straight lead, okay, question lead, contrast lead. We have given that, right? And once we have finished that, what is the next thing that a sub-editor does or a reporter does? Is the body of the news story, the actual flesh of the story. So we are going from the top, say headline, then we are going the first lead, and then the body. So what body refers is the actual text of the remaining part of the story after you have finished your first lead. Again, it is again called as the inverted pyramid. Ante latest ga emayindo mundu pettesi ఇప్పుడు for instance now it is 10:54. Okay, లేటెస్ట్ అంటే ఇప్పుడు 1 o'clock మధ్యాహ్నం. ఇప్పుడు నేను ఒకటి రాశాను, 1 o'clock మధ్యాహ్నం వచ్చింది న్యూస్, దీని గురించి కానీ డెవలప్మెంట్ 1 o'clock ది ముందు పెట్టేస్తాను, ఇన్వర్టెడ్ పిరమిడ్ లో వచ్చేస్తాం. So what came later becomes first in our story. That may become the lead also. The remaining part will be in the chronological order, and the body refers to the text of the news report without its headlines. When you don't have any headline or say intro, then the rest of the thing is known as the body, and we follow the inverted pyramid. And the story is written in short paragraphs. So what are the other styles of news story writing? One is you can do chronological style. It'll start in the మొన్న కమిషనర్ గారు ఏమి ఇచ్చారు, Our Commissioner Anand is given chronological. May 27th నుంచి May 26th లో book చేశారు. Non-alcoholic party, amnesia pub, May 27th morning, May 27th madhyana, May 27th evening, 28th. All this thing he has given in a chronological style. ఒకటేమో ముందు నుంచి వెనక్కి, ఇంకోటేమో వెనక్కి నుంచి ముందుకి, రివర్స్ క్రోనలాజికల్. సో లేటెస్ట్ పెట్టచ్చు. అయితే లేటెస్ట్ ఏంటి, ఇప్పుడు నేను న్యూస్ ఇస్తున్నాను మీకు, June say 10th. So June 10th I'll put first, June 9th, June 8th, June 7th. That is reverse chronological. And what do we mean by that particular thing is chronological is the chronology of order will be more important. ఎలా అయింది స్టెప్ బై స్టెప్ చెప్పండి. ఒక క్రైమ్ అయింది, దాని స్టెప్ బై స్టెప్ చెప్పండి. ఇంకోటి ఏంటంటే రివర్స్ క్రోనలాజికల్, అసలు ఏం జరిగింది అల్టిమేట్ ఎండ్ చెప్పండి. ముందు కథంతా చెప్పదు, నాకు ముందు ఏమైంది చెప్పు. మనం ఎన్నిసార్లు వి కీప్ టాకింగ్ ఆల్సో. దట్ ఈస్ రివర్స్ క్రోనలాజికల్ స్టైల్. సరే అది ఓకే, ఇట్లా అయింది, యాక్సిడెంట్ అయింది, బతికాడా సచ్చాడా, సచ్చాడు అనేది ముందు పెట్టేస్తాం, తర్వాత అసలు ఏమైంది అనేది తర్వాత పెడతాం. అది రివర్స్ క్రోనలాజికల్ స్టైల్. ఇంకోటి సస్పెండెడ్ యానిమేషన్ స్టైల్. రీడర్ యొక్క క్యూరియాసిటీని పెంచడానికి కోసం అని మనం వీ విల్ రైట్ సస్పెండెడ్ యానిమేషన్ స్టైల్. నార్మల్గా ఒక మూవీ రివ్యూ రాసినప్పుడు కానీ, లేకపోతే ఏదైనా స్టోరీలో ఉండండి, వీ విల్ లెట్ యు నో యాక్చువల్లీ వాట్ హ్యాపెండ్. కొంచెం సస్పెన్స్ఫుల్ గా పెడతాం స్టోరీని. దట్ ఈస్ ఐడియా ఈస్ టు సీ దట్ యు ఆర్ ఏబుల్ టు అప్రిషియేట్ అండ్ ఈజ్ ఏబుల్ టు ఎంజాయ్ ది curiosity, is able to arouse the curiosity. That's the most thing. Inverted pyramid style, all of you know, we follow this so that the latest comes first and then the remaining thing come later. They front load their story, okay, putting the most essential, attention grabbing, then slowly remaining thing దానికి సంబంధించింది తక్కువ ఇంపార్టెన్స్ తోటి వెళ్తూ ఉంటుంది. సో in inverted pyramid like this, the top most is the most important, then it becomes less important, least important till the end. So it tapers down. So the details are also becoming lighter and lighter and lighter. Quite possible you may even delete some because when you don't have space. So when the least information is at the bottom, stories can be easily cut short by editors without damaging the remaining part of the story. Story lo unna most important parts already first 2-3 paragraphs lo vastayi. Last di unna okay space unte veyandi, లేదు స్పేస్ లేదు, మీరు ప్రెషర్ లో ఉన్నారు, లాస్ట్ పారాగ్రాఫ్ కట్ చేసేయండి, you can kill the last paragraph. Still your story is having reasoning, logical conclusion, and you don't have to worry because the style that you're following is pyramid style. Suppose inverted pyramid style. Suppose you don't follow inverted pyramid style, then you will have to be very, very careful on how you go about it. And there are many people who don't agree with this. మీదంతా ఏదో థియరీ అంతా చెప్తున్నారు, బిగినింగ్ నుంచి పెట్టినదే సాంప్రదాయంగానే ఎందుకు ఫాలో అవ్వాలి? Why I should follow inverted pyramid? Why I can have my why don't we need I can have that. So there is now actually a debate going on among the journalists and mass media news rating is whether we should follow the inverted pyramid style or can we have something different, because the readers are changing, the generations are changing, new things are coming up, new trends are coming up, new way of thinking is coming up among readers. So the same old reader, 66-year-old Nagarjuna is not there. There is somebody who is now 20-year-old, say somebody is there, who thinks in a different way, not in a wrong way. His expectations are different. So we will try to follow inverted pyramid style, theoretically speaking. We'll follow it also. But if you see most of the stories, they're following that. But you will also find that some of the stories are not following and need not follow the inverted pyramid structure. So it is not any debatable or controversial or anything. But by and large, if you see, most of the stories are following inverted pyramid structure. But of late, we are also getting stories where this is not really strictly followed. So another important area is when you're writing news stories, there is one thing known as attribution. When you're writing a story, it is essential for us to know that what we mean by is that of what we call it as attribution. Evaru chepparu. This is very important. And not you as a reporter saying, somebody has said something to you and that you are mentioning. And are you going to refer that person either by designation, either by name, or either by anonymity? Sometimes he says, no, na per cheppadandi, but nenu information ista. So according to a senior employee, senior officer of this particular bank, who requested anonymity and rasta. Per cheppadannadu. Or ఒక్కోసారి హిందూలో పేరు మార్చేస్తారు. So attribution is one thing where you are only trying to refer, and it is very, very important, including radio and television. So the readers, the listeners, or the TV viewers, they want to know who is speaking or where the information in the story comes from. It is not the story given by Nagarjuna as the reporter. It is the story which tells about someone telling the news. So you may say, according to KTR, you have attributed that to KTR, or KTR says, KTR says, KCR says, Modi says. We are attributing that to someone who is giving that information. That is what we call it as attribution. And you cannot use as you like, because sometimes attribution, what happens? He may not like to be referred. He doesn't like that to be referred. Can be in the form of a quote. For example, Ms. Kumari said, students can expect no special treatment if they go on strike. Who said that? Ms. Kumari said that. You can quote that. So you're quoting Ms. Kumari said. Who is Ms. Kumari? Maybe she may say, don't use my name. You please use it as the senior professor said. So you will have to, that is what is known as attribution. And please remember, sometimes we call it as a reported speech. The good journalist strike a balance between the need to make clear attribution of statement and the risk of boring the too many phrases, such as he said. You have to make a clear attribution, and only once you can tell that, and that can stay good there. What do I mean by these types? All news reports, with very few exceptions, must be sourced. So he source evaru academic news ochindi, according to collector, according to SP, according to so and so, XYZ, or according to a witness, an individual who witnessed an accident or survived an earthquake can be quoted by name as an eyewitness. There was a very big earthquake in Nepal. You go there and you talk to him. Some Bahadur is there. Yeah, Bahadur, what is the thing? Please tell me what happened at the time of earthquake. So he will tell, and that you can quote. Now, what you have used that man's name, you have attributed it to him. So, స్వతహాగా మీరు ఏం తప్పు న్యూస్ చెప్పలేదు, ఈ బహదూర్ చెప్పిన న్యూసే మీరు చెప్పారు. So you have attributed your story to that Bahadur. That is what we mean by attribution. And sometimes attribution can be given to an individual or to an organization also. According to ECIL spokesperson, according to BJP spokesperson. So he is authorized. Unfortunately, Nupur Sharma was also authorized to talk, but she spoke something. Then the whole country got into trouble. The government got into deep trouble. They had no choice but then to take action against Nupur Sharma. For instance, she is the spokesperson. So sometimes you can say the name and designation of the person. Sometimes you can attribute to organize the name and designation. Say Guru Swami Police Commissioner told the media. So you can see. So sometimes only the designation, Guru Swami may say an affair warrant, then they say Police Commissioner has said that. దాంట్లో గొప్పతనం ఏంటంటే పోలీస్ కమిషనర్ ఇట్ సౌండ్స్ వెరీ అథెంటిక్. గురుస్వామి అనగా గురుస్వామి ఇట్లాగే అంటాడులే వి నో బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ అని కూడా అనొచ్చు, డైల్యూట్ కూడా అయిపోవచ్చు. సో సమ్టైమ్స్ విల్ హ్యావ్ టు బి listening to the person who is trying to say that and try to respect his views. If he says don't use my name but say my designation, you can use. So according to the police commissioner. Or sometimes if he agrees, we can say according to the police commissioner C.V. Anand. So like that we can try to see. And there are 2-3 things when we are attributing. One is known as on the record. On the record, we are going to tell your name, and tomorrow if anybody asks, you are going to agree that you have said that. And that is going to be recorded in the sense that it's going to be registered, it's going to be entered, it's written. So all statements are quotable and attributable. Sometimes by name and title to the person making the statement. Pakka cheppeseyandi. CM, so many times CM says, నేను on record పోతున్నా, మీ చెప్తున్నా live లో he tells. Why does he say? He says you use, say the Chief Minister KCR and he has told that. So please remember, they go on record. Like for instance, White House Press Secretary Jim Smith, he said that US has no plans to invade Iran. Here we have used designation, we have used name also, and it is going on the record. That is very, very important for us to understand what we mean by on the record. Or sometimes you can also use the background. On background you can use, by no need of giving any specific name or anything. We just say, a White House spokesman said. US has no plans to invade Iran. A White House spokesman said. So this is on background. At that time, he has not agreed to give his name. It's okay, right? So on the record, James Smith has not agreed. James Smith may say, please use my designation. So okay, reporter writes in his own words, invading Iran is not in the cards. So, and then sometimes we have what is known as off the record. Off the record means, suppose you are a reporter, you have come to my office, I am a government officer. Then you come for some information. Then I will give him information, him or her, and I tell them that kindly don't use my name. What I am saying is off the record. Let it not be on the record. Off the record means kindly you take information from me, but don't involve me in this. I want to be safe. I'm a government servant. I have a job. According to code of conduct, I'm not supposed to speak to you directly. But maybe if the reporter is able to have good rapport with you, contact with you, and you have no problem with the reporter, you trust him, that he will not put you in trouble. And at that time, what you do is that, sir, I will give you all the information, but let it be off the record. Or suppose I may use some slang word, you will not use that in the news story. It is off the record. Sometimes I give some information, then some other information I say, please don't keep this off the record between you and me. Sometimes people are ready to give off the record information. And when we are trying to attribute, when we are trying to write the story, one of the most important principles is what we call it as verification. Never publish a story without verification. Hindu may publish a story a bit late, but it will verify. So nobody should find fault with the accuracy of the story that you want to give. So Hindu verifies. 10 died at Nampally train accident. Really 10 unnaya? Meer count chesava? Hindu will tell the reporter, nu velli sevalu lekka pettinava. Let's sir వాళ్ళు చెప్పి no, నువ్వు వెళ్ళి లెక్క పెట్టినావా. That is what is known as verification. So if I read Hindu, I know 10 అంటే 10. Some newspapers may go by government, 10 అంటే మళ్ళీ government problem ఉంటుందేమో. about 5 people dead. లేకపోతే ఇంకెక్కువ చేయాలని కొన్ని పొలిటికల్ పార్టీ అపోజిషన్ పార్టీ వాళ్ళు 30 మంది వచ్చినారంటారు. సో 30 కూడా తప్పే, 5 కూడా తప్పే, 10 కరెక్ట్. That is verification. Now, who is doing that verification? You as a journalist will have to ensure that you are verified. So don't jump. There are so many news stories that come. Karnani చచ్చిపోయింది అని అన్నదో రైతు చచ్చిపోయింది అని ముందే చెప్పిండు. నేను వాడి మాట నమ్మి నేను చచ్చిపోయిందని వేసేసిన పేపర్లో. బట్ తర్వాత మళ్ళీ I had to retract. No, sorry, he is alive, is very serious. We heard about Jayalalitha also. In social media వచ్చిన ఇంకా అధ్వానం అయిపోయింది. చంపుతారు బతికిస్తారు, పంపుతారు బతికిస్తారు. So we have to verify. Without verification, it should not be done. So similarly, at that time, they said, Moraji Desai announced that Jayaprakash Narayan died, but later some news came, and then that he didn't die. So these are all the things that may happen. So for that sake, always remember, when any information is provided by the reporter, by the journalist, he should follow a scientific method of verifying the facts. Okay, by giving the audience the background on how you arrived at a certain, you allow them to replicate the process of them. So once you give correct information, అది కరెక్ట్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ 10 సార్లు మల్టిప్లై అయినా ప్రమాదం లేదు. అదేమి ఇది తప్పు ఆయన చెప్పాడు 5 వచ్చారట, ఆయన చెప్పారు 5 వచ్చారు, అది మల్టిప్లయింగ్ ఎఫెక్ట్. అంటే ఒక్కసారి చెప్పిన తర్వాత 10 మందికి చెప్తే 5 × 10 50 మందికి వెళ్ళిపోయింది తప్పుడు న్యూస్. So you have to be very, very careful in giving a news, and it should be thoroughly verified. Hindu, as I said, takes more time for verification. Doesn't matter, maku koncham late ga ichina parle news kani correct ga ivandi. And always remember, a journalist or a reporter or anyone should have an open mind. He should not be arrogant. He should not be prejudicial. He should not be preferential. He should be very, very humble. He should know that he's serving the people who are as humble as him. Okay, so you should always try to see that when whatever you write, you're writing, you're exercising humility, and don't assume. Assume ante enti? Don't imagine. Anukuntanu. Don't assume. No assumptions. You should be very clearly mentioned. No question of any assumed aspect of it. So please remember, don't assume. Then another quality is that of what is known as balance and fairness. What do we mean by that? What is that? So when you are trying to write a story, your job is to find out the truth. And if the truth is going to trouble some people, maybe VIPs or ministers or MLAs, or even, you have to go after the truth. You know that the recent rape case, they went after that. They arrested the MLA's son. So they went after the chairman of the Waqf board. Even if it is uncomfortable to those people who are in very big positions or holding big political positions or whatever it may. So because your duty is to serve the reader. The reader should get to know the truth. Whether he may be himself, KCR's grandson, or Muhammad Ali's grandson, what is essential is the public expects correct information. Nobody should be spared. You need not hide that information. Many times we have seen, for instance, I think when Bush was there, or someone, president or prime ministers of countries like US and UK, when their son gets caught in drunken driving, that is very clearly information given. They're not hiding that information. Public needs unbiased information. It should not be partial. At the same time, it need not be humiliating. It should not be partial, biased. But if you want democracy to succeed, you are balancing the story. So suppose there are two versions. One is, say, Revant Reddy is saying something, but one is KTR is saying something. And in this story, two people have said two opposite things. Put both the people's versions. Don't put only Revant Reddy and then forget about KTR. Then what will the reader think? You are biased. యువర్ సపోర్టర్ ఆఫ్ రేవంత్ రెడ్డి వాన్ మాట అని చెప్పినా కానీ వీన్ మాట చెప్పలేదు ఎందుకు? మేము తెలుసుకుంటాం అది. ఎవడు కరెక్ట్ చెప్పిండు, ఈడు కరెక్ట్ చెప్పిండా, ఆయన కరెక్ట్ చెప్పిండా అని మేము చూసుకుంటాం. సో that is possible when you maintain balance and fairness. We expect this from you as a reporter, from journalist. So which means always remember that your stories are unbiased. It's very, very essential for us. Okay? So they should be unbiased and there should be objectivity. Objectivity at simple Hindi lo maqsad kya hai? मकसद ये नहीं है कि दूसरे किसी को दुख पहुंचाना या किसी के एक्सपेंस में. So objectivity is very important, particularly when you're writing a communal story on communal clashes, story on something which is religiously sensitive story. What is essential for you is there is pure objectivity. People of all faiths have to be informed. Kanpur mein problem ho gaya, kyun hua? What is the background? So you have to be very careful. Sometimes you omit the religion itself. You may say people of one community clashed with people of another community instead of saying Hindu people went and beaten up the Muslim people. Then again Muslim people, there will be flare up. Then you write a story, Muslim people have beaten up Hindus. Then again there will be a flare up. So always try your best to see that there is objectivity, there is no provocation. There is no controversy. So, what is essential? Even the word that you select instead of another word can try to influence the thinking of the reader. It may say that you are trying to pump some judgment into the story. You are not going to sit over the story. You are not going to be a judge. You are only a reporter. So, what is essential is you have to balance the story. And you should be fair. Fairness is very, very important. You should not have any of your own personal feelings and then write that in your news story. Thereby, you are becoming prejudicial. When you are writing something against, you are becoming prejudicial. If you are writing something in favor of something, you are becoming preferential. So no prejudices and no preferences for a reporter. He has only put this. That's why in Hindi there is a very good saying like called as "Doodh ka doodh or pani ka pani." You cannot mix these two. పాలలో నీళ్ళు కలిపితే ఏమవుతుందో అదే అవుతుంది. మీ పర్సనల్ ఫీలింగ్స్ అందులో పెడితే. సో ప్లీజ్ పల్సగా అయిపోతుంది స్టోరీ. స్టోరీలో ఉన్న సీరియస్నెస్ దమ్ముపోతుంది. ఎప్పుడు దమ్ము ఉంటుంది? when you are fair. Okay, and that should be your goal as a reporter. Similarly, you have to also, it will also sometimes, your own biases. Sometimes you feel strongly that even if you are biased, you are correct. In some occasions, rare occasions, that is also possible. Later, I will tell you when we have advocacy reporting, I will tell you about that. And the language that you use should be neutral. Don't use harsh language. Use neutral language. You should write in such a way that you are not bothered about the outcome of this story. You have presented the story as a honest observer. ఇందులో మీ యొక్క ప్రత్యేక వ్యక్తిగత అవసరం ఏమీ లేదు. Your story is purely objective. It is purely balanced. It is fairly reported by an honest observer. You are very honest in your observation and you are not putting your feelings in the story. Okay? So that the reader understands that you are a credible person, that you are a trustworthy person. This is what we mean by that. So that is what can guarantee the reader. Otherwise, next time what happens? By seeing your name, Rajiv. Rajiv means, ఒరే ఈడన్ని తప్పులు రాస్తారని వాడు ఆ పేరు చూడగానే నెక్స్ట్ స్టోరీకి వెళ్ళిపోతారు. So there are no policemen in the newsroom. Nobody is there to tell you. What you write becomes the Bible. What you write becomes the Bhagavad Gita. So we expect you to be in that kind of level of honesty, reliability. Okay? If we write inaccurate, the readers will stop trusting us. Okay, they'll stop trusting us. So with this, I have finished my slides. I will now stop sharing and come back to the class. Okay, and I'll just come back to this, right? We have what you call it as we expect that you are balanced and you've been very fair. And what happens in case of this is, for instance, I can give you some of the examples like journalists are never successful in completely being balanced and fair. They never tell all sides of a story. This is a normal criticism that a journalist faces. మీరు ఎంత బ్యాలెన్స్ ఉండడానికి ట్రై చేసినా కూడా లేదు సార్, మీరు అది కొంచెం అటు సైడ్ ఎక్కువ చెప్పారు, ఇటు సైడ్ తక్కువ చెప్పారు అంటే అక్కడ 5 points చెప్పినారు వాడికి వ్యతిరేకంగా, ఇదేమో వీళ్ళకి సపోర్ట్ గా 4 points చెప్పినారు. మీరు 5 అంటే ఆడ 5 ఇక్కడ 4, ఎందుకు మీరు ఇక్కడ 4 చేయలేదు, ఇక్కడ 4 చేయలేదు, అప్పుడు ఇక్కడ కూడా 5 చేయాలి. సో ఇట్స్ అ వెరీ వెరీ tricky, dicey issue that a reporter faces. But still, his coverage should cover all the people responsible or voices pertaining to that particular story. So you may contact the most powerful person like Harish Rao or somebody on the road. Harish Rao says, I have put Annapurna cantons everywhere. Please report it, no problem. But also go to some person who is eating that meals and take his version. ఆయన అంత పెద్ద గొప్పలు చెప్తున్నా అన్నం ఏం బానే లేదు అంటున్నాడా? ఎస్, అన్నం చాలా బాగుంది, మాకు 5 రూపాయలు దొరుకుతుంది, ఫ్రీగా దొరుకుతుంది, మేము ఎప్పుడు ఆశించలేదు, ఇంత బాగుంది. సో యు ఆర్ ట్రైంగ్ టు బి వెరీ ఫెయిర్, వెరీ బ్యాలెన్స్డ్. యు ఆర్ నాట్ డూయింగ్ చెంచాగిరి టు హరీష్ రావు ఆర్ టు ది Annapurna, to the people there. Nor are you finding fault with the people or criticizing Harish Rao. So this is very, very important. So you have to build recognition, okay, and you have to meaning and daనికి సార్థకం చేయాలి మనం. So many times what happens in the excitement of giving out sensational news, live breaking news and గొడవ పెడతాం మనం, పెట్టి మనం ఏం చేస్తాం అంటే ఒక్కోసారి సెన్సేషనలిజంకి ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ఇచ్చేసి బ్యాలెన్స్ ఫెయిర్నెస్ ని ఆహుతి చేసేస్తున్నాం. వీఆర్ సాక్రిఫైసింగ్ బ్యాలెన్స్ అండ్ ఫెయిర్నెస్ ఇన్ ద ఎక్సైట్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ క్రియేటింగ్ సంథింగ్ సెన్సేషనల్ సో దట్ ద పేపర్ కెన్ హ్యావ్ మోర్ రీడర్స్, ద టీవీ కెన్ హ్యావ్ మోర్ వ్యూవర్స్, ద రేడియో కెన్ హ్యావ్ మోర్ లిజనర్స్. But that is not what we expected in terms of balance and fairness or in point of view journalism, as a matter of fact journalism. So please remember that you'll have to be very, very careful when you're trying to write a story. So bring a balance to the copy. Always don't let the copy be imbalanced. You must learn always to get the other point of view. Suppose only some person has given view, what about the other person? He is not there. You have to contact him or her. Sir, this is the thing. Can you please give your opinion on this? Bandi Sanjay says something about the way money has to be given by the center. Then you take Bandi Sanjay version, mattuke print chesi, Mikita version teeskopote, you are not balanced, you are not fair. Okay, according to Bandi Sanjay, according to KTR, both you are giving. So in a news story, next time when you read news stories of various newspapers, you can try to see whether what we are trying to say is matching with what is matching actually in the newspapers, in the media, mainstream like TV or even radio. Another important area is what we expect from you is brevity. Brevity అంటే క్లుప్తంగా ఉండాలి. ఎందుకంటే రీడర్కి ఈ రోజుల్లో టైం లేదు, ఓర్పు లేదు, సహనం అసలే లేదు. అతనికి అన్ని తొందరగా కావాలి, వేడి వేడి మిర్చి బజ్జీలాగా. కొంచెమే చదవాలి, ఎక్కువ చదవడానికి టైం కూడా లేదు, చదవని కూడా. బికాస్ ద ప్రెసెంట్ డే జనరేషన్ హావ్ బికమ్ స్కేర్స్ రీడర్స్. అంటే ప్రింట్ మీడియా, దే ఆర్ రీడర్స్ ఆఫ్ సోషల్ మీడియా. Hundreds of minutes they spend on this. Hundreds of hours they spend on this. But if I ask you to read a newspaper for 10 minutes, then you have no time. Whole newspaper, 10 minutes. It takes 2 hours to read an entire newspaper. I read 3 newspapers every day fully, including the editorials, reviews, everything, except some of the advertisements I may not see. So brevity means write a story which is very like a chip. It should be crisp. Potato chips ఎలా ఉంటే కరకరలాడేట్టు ఉండాలి. తక్కువ వర్డ్స్ వాడండి, తక్కువ చిన్న సెంటెన్సెస్ వాడండి, చిన్న పారాగ్రాఫ్ వాడండి, చిన్న పదాలు వాడండి. Short words, short sentences, short paragraphs. This is how you can think about ensuring brevity. So we always say make it simple. And again, there is one principle known as KISS simple, KISS. Keep it short and simple. This is what we mean by writing a story. Lengthy story may be good for you to write. You have taken so much pain to write the entire story very long. But what is the use of your hard work, your sincere efforts, when reader is not going to spend that much time to read your entire story? So what he expects from you is brevity. ఎంత వీలైతే అంత ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అతి తక్కువ పదాల్లో, అతి తక్కువ సెంటెన్సెస్ లో, అతి తక్కువ పారాగ్రాఫ్ లో, అతి చిన్న పారాగ్రాఫ్ లో మనం న్యూస్ ప్రొవైడ్ చేయగలమా లేదా అనేది మన సత్తాను నిరూపించుకోవడానికి మనం brevity follow అవుతాం. Brevity means keeping it very short, very simple, at the same time crisp. ఓకే, కరకరలాడే సౌండ్ రావాలి, స్టోరీలో ఆ దమ్ము ఉండాలి. That actually, so who will get you the brevity? It is not that easy to achieve. All of you must have done in your college or schools where you have done your Preci writing, PRECIS. ఒక 5 పారాగ్రాఫ్ల ప్యాసేజ్ని మీరు 2 పారాగ్రాఫ్లో రాయాలి, మళ్ళీ మొత్తం స్టోరీ కవర్ అవ్వాలి టాప్ టు బాటమ్. సమ్మరీ అంటాం, ప్రెసీ రైటింగ్ అంటాం. సో బ్రెవిటీ అంటే ఏంటంటే మీరు ఆ యొక్క ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అతి తక్కువ లైన్స్ లో అతి సులభంగా రీడర్ మొత్తం అర్థం చేసుకునేట్టుగా ఇవ్వగలుగుతున్నారా లేదా, దట్ ఈస్ నోన్ యాజ్ బ్రెవిటీ. సో ఆల్వేస్ ట్రై టు రైట్ డౌన్. We have discussed today 5Ws, 1H also. We have discussed a lot on headlines. We have discussed a lot on leads. What are the leads we have discussed? And we also discussed that while writing the story, we have to keep in mind certain important aspects like attribution, like verification. Are we able to maintain that or not? Brevity, balance and fairness, are we maintaining or not? Are we following the rule of brevity or not? So this is how we will be able to see. So you have some questions like what are 5Ws and 1H? Please take care of that. What are different types of headlines? We have discussed that. For instance, banner headline, flushed left headline, headline left line, flushed left headline. Inverted pyramid headline, we have seen. Inverted pyramid headline we have seen earlier also. We also discussed about lead, how a lead should be effective because it leads you into the story. It takes you into the story. It handholds you into the story. So what are the advantages of writing an inverted pyramid style? All these things can be looked into. How do you make the copy lively? Are you able to maintain that accuracy? Are you able to maintain? So are you able to build the story? Like how a mason puts a brick side by a brick, fine of a brick, and then a wall is completed. Even if one brick is missing, what happens? You will say, why one brick is missing? Same is the case with the story also. So you'll have to be very careful about that also. And with this, we have completed the class, today's class. I hope, so tomorrow I will take Unit 11 and Unit 12. Have a look at them in your course material. And in the meantime, if you have any doubts, feel free to ask me on WhatsApp. And we have 1 minute more, rather a few seconds only. And I think I have done my class today. Again, as usual, it is streaming. I hope all of you are able to listen to my voice, and it is sincerely hoped that you will be able to, study the course material uh, concentratedly. Thank you very much. I'm closing the class now because the time is over now. Thank you very much.